Photosynthesis and cellular respiration. All plants and animals need a continual supply of energy in order to grow, function, and survive. So where do plants and animals get this energy? Plants produce their own food. They do this through the process of photosynthesis. During photosynthesis, chloroplasts in green plants capture energy from the sun and store it as a simple sugar. So chloroplasts were those little green organelles in their cell structure, and you can actually see them within this cell. So a cell wall is here. You can see all of the different chloroplasts, and they can absorb energy from the sun. So in general, in photosynthesis, the energy is given to plants, and plants through photosynthesis create sugars. So again, they store the energy from the sun in simple sugars. Grass or any plant can be eaten by something else, which can be eaten by something else, which can be eaten by something else, and so on and so on and so on. So we can say that all of the energy in our ecosystems comes from the sun and photosynthesis. We can be even more general. We can say that all energy comes from the sun. And the reason is, if this had been millions of years ago and instead of an ant or anything, this was a dinosaur, well, the dinosaurs died and they made our oil and gas, which we use as a source of energy. So we could say that the sun, through grass, dinosaurs, oil and gas, powers our car or our house. So again, all energy is from the sun. So the reaction for photosynthesis is that sunlight, along with carbon dioxide in our atmosphere and water, undergo a photosynthesis reaction. And this happens in the chloroplasts, the green organelles of our plants. Okay. These plants use sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water to produce glucose, so those stored sugars we were talking about, and oxygen. So the general photosynthesis reaction is that these reactants, so sunlight, also known as energy, carbon dioxide, and water, make glucose and oxygen. Cellular respiration is when food undergoes a chemical reaction and releases its energy, so some sort of nutrient. This happens in both plants and animals. Okay, so plants can create their food, but they then have to use it to create energy to power their plant processes. This takes place in the mitochondria. It's called the power plant of the cell. It's where the power is generated, and it occurs in the mitochondria in both plant and animal cells. The general formula for cellular respiration is that glucose and oxygen make carbon dioxide, water, and the energy that we were looking for. Now, this should look kind of familiar. We just talked about all 5 of these things with photosynthesis. So again, glucose and oxygen come into the mitochondria, and out comes carbon dioxide, water, and the energy we were looking for. There's a little video here about cellular respiration and where we get our energy from. So this is a bit of an extension, but how do we know plants produce oxygen? So in the 1770s, they discovered that plants produce oxygen. This guy, Joseph Priestley, conducted an experiment using an airtight container, a mouse, and a plant. What he did was he put a mouse in this airtight container and just didn't ever open it. And of course, over time, the mouse died because it ran out of oxygen. So take 2, he thought this through a little bit more. He put a plant in there. And over time, the plant, of course, with photosynthesis, produces oxygen gas from this little mouse, his carbon dioxide that he gives off. So we see the mouse lives. Priestley concluded that plants are able to put back what living animals take out of the air. That something released by the plant was oxygen. So how are photosynthesis and cellular respiration related? In photosynthesis, we have light energy from our sun coming into a chloroplast. We also have water and carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and the environment coming into this chloroplast, and it produces glucose and oxygen. That glucose and oxygen in the mitochondria gives off chemical energy, water, and CO2. So, if we were to write out the reaction, we could say that photosynthesis, again, was CO2 and water and energy makes glucose, so C6H12O6 is the formula for glucose, and oxygen. But if I just reversed this, it becomes cellular respiration, where oxygen and glucose come together to make energy, water, and CO2. So, cellular respiration and photosynthesis are just opposite reactions. So we could say that the reactants of photosynthesis are the products of cellular respiration and vice versa. So again, the reactants for photosynthesis were the products of cellular respiration, and the products of photosynthesis are the reactants of cellular respiration. They are opposite. A little bit of practice in your textbook here. Don't forget that I made little chapter notes for this unit. I thought that they'd be helpful for you guys when you're working on your chapter assignments and maybe your unit summaries. Totally optional, nothing that I will collect from you, but again, something that could be helpful to help organize your ideas.